So, this is it then?
This is what?
This is what you have to show after months and months of brainstorming?
What's the problem?
It's just that you've been wanting to do reviews for years, but the only way you do it is if you could do it in your own way, creatively. You wanted to be fresh without rehashing a redundant format by providing a unique voice with a consistent attraction. You went through idea after idea, concept after concept, gimmick after gimmick, trying to create something differently, new for the community and yourself. And this is the best that you could come up with.
You'll have to be more specific.
You're wearing a lady's graduation gown, fake Hot Topic spectacles, and a rejected wig from the set of Golden Girls.
The gavel's real.
You look ridiculous.
Your wife doesn't think so.
Excuse me?
She loves it.
What's that supposed to mean?
A lot.
Janea! Don't you judge her!
Ayo! Welcome to Patrick Wapner's Court. We are now in session. This is gonna be fun. Welcome to the very first trial of Patrick Wapner's Court. I am, of course, Judge Patrick Wapner himself, and I am honored to be here. Today we'll be looking at case number 092416, the oversized knockoff of TFC Toys Hydrant. Let's examine the evidence, shall we? To begin, we'll start off with the packaging. And where's the packaging?
Don't worry about it.
How am I supposed to do this without something to show?
Figure it out.
The toy came crammed in a tiny corrugated shipping box. The components were, however, only separated by plastic baggies. The same kind that you would expect to use for your lunch sandwiches, luggage liquids, or picking up your dog's poop at the park after a picnic. Just receiving it like this oozes KO. And expectations for KO packages are quite low anyway. It did come with a tiny transforming truck thing of some kind. I'd show you, but it disappeared already. Probably to the same place dryer socks go to piss you off. This oversized toy is based off the third-party TFC Toys Hydrant, which is their take on an updated hotspot, or not spot.
Too easy.
And to that effect, it pulls it off pretty well. This is what car guys would call a 20-footer. The overall color scheme is nice, with the choice of blue here really standing out. Side note already, blue fire trucks are easily more elegant and badass than red ones. Look it up! The yellow ladder is conspicuous, as are the combiner pegs sticking off to the side. It needs to be white. Needs to be. Especially since the hologram card that it came with shows a white ladder on it. The wheels are ugly for a fire truck and look like, cheap imitations.
You are worth every penny, aren't you?
Hey! Shut up! Sorry. They're a clear cost savings measure here, and likely shares the same DNA as the factory's other oversized knockoff robot product.
What did we just discover? Are they behind everything?
The paint locations are okay, except they neglected the very evidence of the fire truck.
Dalmatians and parade candy!
No, seriously, the lights. Without the lights, it's basically just a long blue brick with a
Yellow ladder on top.
The paint that is applied, though, underspray and overspray abound. There's your underspray on the wheels, there on the wipers. It's a nice try. The side applications are basically dripping with excess paint. And the rest is like, meh, we'll get it next time. The molding details are nice. The truck does pull off the whole robot in disguise thing well enough, unless you look at it from the top. The codpiece loiters up here like troubled youths at a 7-Eleven. The built-in combiner head is visible, but not overly obvious unless you get it just at the right angle and then you're doing a booger check. Everything does function as you'd expect. The ladder goes up and down, it does extend, it does swivel. A highlight here of the truck is that it holds together extremely well. As an example here, I'll show you. You got 1, 2, if you line it up just right, click. Sounds pretty divine providence. Something that would be nice is that if you're going to assemble your toy, maybe take the time to line up the pin press machine. Based on the videos I've seen, the transformation is easier than TFC's version. There's nothing really new here that makes it feel fresh, but it is fun and the fluidity of the moving parts is fine. It's definitely intuitive until you come to the shoulders and have to decide which way to proceed due to the twists and turns for robot and torso modes, as well as the lack of design locking or detent features to correct placement. There are aspects that are downright worrisome or useless, like the knees and elbows. Frustration with the toy is low until you get to the hands where you need a hefty prying action to pull them out. I nearly lost a thumbnail trying to get the right leverage. Some of the slide out bits are nifty, but volunteer some of the most interesting sounds I've ever heard of. And what's even more bizarre, they feel like the strongest aspects of the transformation. Not everything pegs in as nicely as alt mode. In fact, the forearms are the only things that truly flips and pegs at all. The shoulders and sheets of plywood slapped to the outside of the legs are free to move wherever they please, but generally remain in place if they aren't manipulated. This feels like a totally different toy than the fire truck that we started out with. But it doesn't have to, does it? What I do know is that this guy's silhouette is tough. It's pretty awesome. I love that it's big and beefy. That's what she said. Ha! Real mature. Overall, it totally works. What with its giant Popeye forearms with its pretend robo tattoos. That being said, this mode further exposes the flaws with the toy by, exposing them. Large gaps, uneven plastic, and exposed joints, which is a bummer to be sure. The leg's plywood armor could have used another fold in order to not only clean up the look, but also show off the majority of the paint that was covered up. The yellow looks a little better here, if only by a little. The red is a welcome addition to the dominant color palette. The dark grays and the blacks work well and are effective effects. You are just a poster child for great word choice. The molding details are definitely nice in some areas, but neglected in others. The chest plate always looks angry, what with its furrowed brow and its dark underlines under which are the hilariously designed android areolas. The hands are the ugliest non-hands I have seen in a long time.
You suck.
I mean, look at these things. I cannot figure out what they're supposed to look like. They're not hands. And what the heck are these things in the shoulders? What are they? I thought the plastic was cracked. They better be tooling slides here in order to undermold another feature inside of this shoulder piece. Otherwise, they're stupid. You can take... The materials used on this KO don't feel all like KO quality. It's all plastic with nothing fancy, nothing special, no die casts, no high-end materials, no rubbers. No unprofessional comments from the peanut gallery. Nah, I don't want to overuse it in one video. The joints on this guy sport a terrible design, but even with the malfunctioning ratchets, the pivots are still tight enough to hold its position and friction still does the job. The locking tabs and posts in this mode are basically non-existent, and the alt mode shines compared to this. These just float. This just floats. It sucks. But it doesn't move on its own. But if bothered, beep, then frustration starts to set in. Although nothing on this toy feels too loose and provides adequate resistance throughout, I suppose. With maybe the exception of these ankles. They're just a little too loose, I think. But not, well, maybe just the one. Come on, man, I need better notes than this.
My bad.
I'm embarrassing myself here.
Oh, please, mister, I look like Keira Knightley's uglier stunt double from one of my 23 period piece movies.
Really?
Yeah, I said it.
I mean, it looks like it should have a joint right here, but nope. Nope. Suckfest USA right here. But it does click in. Gate and sprue flash are all over this toy. Like thorns, literally everywhere.
You literally used literally wrong.
I will use this, and not the way it's supposed to be used. This figure is most certainly hollow, but somehow it just feels less so. You know, well, maybe with the exception of this giant gaping hole in his butt. Even so, I think if a child were to get a hold of this, I feel as though it would survive for a while. There's just no way to know, because this house is not a very good testing ground for such things. What do you think you're doing? We've talked about this. Time to go do some calculus.
No!
Here he is with a leader class figure from the movie line, Optimus Prime. You can tell it's a very big figure. In fact, that's how long he is. Here he is with the Hasbro Combiner Wars hotspot. And then finally, what I'm most excited about is this. These two look incredible together. I feel like that these fit together. And even in robot modes, I think they're perfect. And can you imagine if Notspot here was of similar quality or caliber as a Masterpiece style and had all the right paint applications? Think about the possibilities.
I already have.
Okay, so for some robot mode comparisons, he's right on par with a leader size figure. Aesthetically, he probably doesn't fit with the movieverse, at least in robot mode, right? Here he is with a Masterpiece scaled figure. We have Prowl. I think that looks about right in size. Combiner Wars, Voyager class, hotspot. And I will say this, the Oscorp version of TFC's stands a whole heck of a lot better than Hasbro's does. This junk hanging off here, if you put it back here, or you can put it up front if you wish. This, I don't think that looks kibbly. I mean, that's part of his character. He's a fire truck, so something's gonna have to be there, right? This junk hanging off of the side here, that's too much. But otherwise, kibble, I would say, is a minimal. That doesn't count this piece, which has no place to go. Next. The various weapons and accessories included are numerous, if completely useless, depending on your intent. Included are a big water cannon machine gun and combiner bits. Why?
Because TFC did it.
I'll be answering my own transitional lead-ins. Thank you. These accessories are actually very well done. They feel decent. The hands are very, very, very hollow. Weird plastic bubble markings inside. Yeah. Sadly, I'm not aware of any plans from Oscorp to produce any additional Predictabots from the TFC set. If that's why you're buying this figure, don't. Is this where we discuss the combiner head if it's integrated into all categories?
No, that's a playability feature.
I see. Moving on. The head itself doesn't move at all. The shoulders, you can pretty much do anything because there's nothing that locks in, so it's essentially a free-for-all. There is a bicep swivel in here, but it's a little scary, and it has to be exactly square in order... Oh gosh, I don't like this. Eee! It's digging into the plastic. Oh, what a mess. The elbows do this. That's not enough. They do that. Okay. The wrists, let's not discuss the wrists. They still suck. There is a waist swivel here. The ladder and the junk that's barely pegged in there are getting in the way. It does that quite a bit there, but then hits here. Thighs, they twist. Ah! Then the knees, okay, they do that, not enough. Hear those sounds? Yeah, no sounds. Ratchet's junk. Ankles do up and down here, but the red piece, the toe, doesn't twist. The heel does. Okay. Regarding playability, I think that Notspot's ability here to pull off one of the most impressive Michael Jackson leans that I can remember in recent times, even with the junk on the back. I mean, typically we talk about figures being back heavy, but this dude, he can stand up pretty securely. Front ankle suck too. I would love to be able to talk about how he can hold his Gatling gun hose combo weapon thing, but I can't. Why? The hands suck, and he cannot hold his weapon in a natural way. If you he holds it wonky like this, the way that's designed. He can't even hold this. So he can't hold the fire hose. He can't hold it here. I can plug it right here. But why would you? As a result of the articulation restrictions mentioned earlier, the posability is pants on this figure.
Americans don't say that.
I know that, but maybe we should. This thing does have the added ability of being a torso. Oh gosh, that sounded wonderful, didn't it? The head has a bit of a squished look to it. I think that that's very similar to what TFC's had too, but this derpy looking smile he has on his face, it kind of gives off a creepy neighbor vibe to it. The combiner mode here does hold up better and tabs in extremely well compared to the robot mode. Again, you of course have the ability to put the banana on the back if you want, which makes sense, right? In my mind, this just in general is not a display piece as it is, so I guess if that's what Oscorp's intent was, mission accomplished. Now it's time for the nitpicks and nuance part of the trial. This is where I get to pick on the figure or heap praise on the figure as I seem fit. Number one nitpick I have, the hands. They're worthless. Functionally and aesthetically, they're not hands.
Objection! Leading the audience. That's an opinion.
Overruled. Rewatch your ratings tutorial, linked in the description below. But he looks tough just standing there, doesn't he? Isn't that worth a ton of credit? However, pet peeve unlocked. This piece. This is the ultimate definition of a drawer part. The only place it goes is truck mode. right? I mean, I could try and give them a shield right here of some kind. It doesn't quite fit. It just doesn't look right, and it doesn't stay. I mean, it makes absolutely no sense why this piece could not have been added to the back here. I mean, look at this. You have a back here with a giant head in the back, and this piece, which could have fit just underneath. I mean, it's so close. I wish it stayed, because then the ladder could actually be put this way. As it is, worthless. After having spent more than a week mulling over the evidence, I can say that TFC's Hydrant is the more memorable piece than this Oscorp version.
We don't even own a hydrant. How could you possibly know that?
Because I'm the Honorable Judge Patrick Wapner, and I'm better than you.
You're meaner on camera.
So let's talk about the expense. It cost around $30, 40 shipped, and you know, that's Hasbro leader class money, but it's also significantly cheaper than TFC's version, which is smaller. I would say that there are worse things to spend your money on. The size and appearance make me feel okay about it. Ultimately, in the end, it's a little overpriced, but so is movie popcorn, and in the end, it is still worth it. We have reached the end, and it is ruling time. If you all will give me a moment, I'm going to deliberate my decision, and I will be back momentarily. In the meantime, enjoy this ridiculous thing I found.
Heads up!
Oh! Okay, so after a long and arduous deliberation, after reviewing all of the evidence, both for and against, I have made my decision. The final ruling will be 64.1%. Now, that may be a failing score in many of your books. This may be a passing score. I mean, this is right on the edge. But ultimately, it doesn't really matter. It's sentencing time. So, with that said, I now sentence you to be a custom candidate. Essentially, that means this thing's going to be torn up, ripped apart, built new, and as intended, be an entirely new figure within the Masterpiece line. I do want to thank all of you today for joining me. It did go longer than I intended, but you should count yourself lucky. The first cut was over an hour. There's a lot of issues with it. There's a lot of things that needed to be discussed, and there's a lot of things that I'm sure that people wanted to see. There aren't many reviews of this guy out there, and I wanted to make sure it was at least somewhat thorough. Now that I've said my piece, court is now adjourned. So, how did it feel? Amazing. It was the best time of my... Wait, how did what feel? Your first review trial, how did it feel? Oh, good. I'm new to this camera thing. I'll get used to it, though. These will get better. That's good. What did you think I meant? What's that now? Earlier, I asked how did it feel, and you mistakenly answered amazing. What did you think I was talking about? Like I said, she really likes the wig.